Hi everybody, this is Brian Brown with the Nassau Bay Politics Discussion Group. This will be our first of what I hope will be two separate interviews here for the Nassau Bay City Council Position 4 race. Election day is May 4th. I'm here with Haley Ewell, one of the candidates. And first, Haley, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. So just a heads up, our format's going to be a 1 hour-ish discussion guided by questions. And if something interesting comes up, we may diverge on a tangent for a little bit and then come back to the basic.
Yep.
So, well, where are you originally from and what brought you to Nassau Bay?
So I grew up in Louisiana, so go LSU. Tiger by heart. I lived there until I was probably 15 years old. I've been in Texas since then. I have lived in various parts of Texas. I graduated high school in Temple, Texas. Got my first college degree in Lufkin, Texas. Been in Houston for about 15 years now. I've lived downtown. I've lived in the Woodlands. Came to Nassau Bay in 2015. So been here ever since.
Excellent. As you said, kind of touched a little bit that you got your first degree.
Yeah.
So what is your educational and professional background?
Sure. So I've worked in healthcare my entire career. My very first degree was in radiology technology. I spent the majority of my career as an ultrasound tech. So I did that front line for about, I'd say 10 years. Then I switched gears and went into leadership in healthcare. My second degree is a Bachelor in Healthcare Administration, as well as my master's. And so I've been in, like I said, leadership at one of the largest hospital systems in Houston. I won't say their name just to keep things private. But I've been there for 14 years now, I'm sorry. So my primary role there right now, I'm Associate Vice President of Quality, Safety, Infection Prevention. Also work with risk management, sort of risk mitigation. So that's my background.
How many direct reports you have? How big of an overall team do you manage?
Okay, so my role right now, I'm primarily over post-acute and ambulatory. So for those of you that don't know what that means, it's all of the little clinics you see throughout the city, imaging centers, rehab centers, heart failure clinics, wound care, physician offices. Currently my quality team is 18 people, and so those are my direct reports that I have currently.
Okay, great. So what got you interested in politics and why city council versus, say, the school board or a different position?
Yeah, so I've served on a lot of different boards, from colleges to risk management boards for Houston. I'm all about professional growth and have a passion to give positivity and make a great change. And I thought, what better way in Nassau Bay to serve on something that for a community that I love. I love the residents, the employees. I care about just the whole functioning of the city and what we have here, and so wanted to spend my time with having the opportunity to serve there.
Okay, so you've been on the Nassau Bay Homes Association.
Yes.
For 2 years now?
2 years, yeah.
And are you running again for that as well? Or?
No, I'm not. I'm giving up my seat, hoping that I win this election here so I can devote my time to this. So knowing that could be a possibility, I did not want to, have any distraction from me devoting my time to the council.
Okay. Have you served on any city boards or participated in any of them?
Not on the city boards, no. I've served on Greater Houston Society for Healthcare Risk Management Board, which is a very large program for risk management. So I have a lot of experience in that space, but not really city boards per se.
Okay. So now, having run for other positions in the past, in particular, the HOA is really one where you actually have to be elected.
Yeah.
What have you learned from that experience, and how are you applying that to running here?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things is really to just be honest and authentic and transparent and be your real self. I've learned that all of those things incorporated into any campaign you're running are very, very important. So people get to know who you are, what your passions are, if you're in it for the right reasons, really keeping a drama-free, clean race focused on the reason why you're doing it. And so that's what I've applied to this one, and hopefully people are seeing that.
Excellent, excellent. Okay. So Nassau Bay is currently experiencing a period of rejuvenation. A lot more younger families are moving in as older folks depart. And so, how can the city capitalize on this influx of newer, younger people? And how does success look like to you if the city were to be able to capitalize?
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, I have a young family. There's certain things you look for in a community when you want to be attracted to it, right? So we've got to keep it attractive to the young people, and so that means things that you're getting them engaged with. They want a voice inside of the city, and what improvements we can make. Things like a community center, a fitness center, outdoor entertainment spaces. Like, these are things that we're going to have to continue to work on to remain attractive for young families. I mean, they're wanting all of those things. They can go to newer neighborhoods and have all these grand, built master plan communities. And so we've got to keep Nassau Bay's charm, but also at the same time make improvements so that they can see that we have similar amenities and we're still desirable.
Okay. So over the last few years, city staff has really taken center stage with many significant departures of city leadership. And for our more frontline workers, refineries in particular look a lot more attractive than than a regular city employment position.
Sure.
So, how do we as a city manage employee retention, especially in our public works and our law enforcement?
Yeah, I think both of those areas are very, very important. I've worked in leadership, as I told you earlier, for a long time. Employee engagement is a very, very important thing, not only to hire staff, but you have to keep them. If you spend your time onboarding new staff over and over, you're wasting dollars doing that. I think the first thing you probably should start with, if they haven't done this already, is really doing an engagement survey, a very objective survey. Figure out what their concerns are, what they're wanting more of or less of. Prioritize those things and try to change the culture. I also feel like incentivizing people to stay here or to work here is important. I mean, that comes with market evaluations on salaries, looking at things like sign-on bonuses, where they're required to stay for a certain amount of time, right, to achieve that. I think all of those things are really important, and I really think we should focus heavily on that. We all depend on our city workers and our police officers. I have a lot of respect for them. They work so hard, and they deserve to be adequately compensated and have a great culture to work in.
So, sticking with city staff, this is a question that came from one of our readers and
Sure.
whatnot. So, Paul Lopez, who's been with the city for I think about 12 or 13 years now.
Yeah, or maybe longer than that, yeah.
And possibly longer than that. Paul has been great. He's come up through Public Works. He's currently the interim city manager.
Yep.
Do you think he should get the job? Why or why not?
So I want to give my opinion. I think Paul is a fantastic person. I've actually spoken with him since I started on this campaign, and I can really tell that he loves the city and he loves what he's doing, and he has the right mind frame of making improvements. I think it's ultimately Paul's decision, right? The ball is kind of in his court. If he's offered this job full time, it's really a decision he has to make. He's been in the public works, and I know he loved that work. And so really, is he wanting to fully transition to that? I also think that we need to look at his performance since he's been interim, right? Is he meeting the objectives and the goals that the city, has set out to accomplish? And based on, his feedback and the performance feedback, I think that's how you ultimately decide if he gets the full-time job or not. Personally, I think he's done an exceptional job. He's a great person. He walks around and talks to residents, and truly you can see that he cares about what he does. And I think that's very, very important in a city manager.
Great. So there's been talk and suggestion, again, this is coming up every so often, with redeveloping the waterfront, basically from the over by the boardwalk, right on Upper Bay, in the Sapphire, old Balboa Apartments, all the way into Swan Lagoon, through the old Hess property, Lockheed. The funding for the last major city investment in economic development is coming to a close in a couple of years. The TERS is just about paid out. We've got one or two more payments to make. And Griffin will have been compensated for the contract. A lot of that project still sits, not completely. City building on the corners, currently just sitting there undeveloped. You have about 4 to 5 acres across the street from City Hall undeveloped. So how do if we start another investment in economic development and redevelopment of the waterfront per se, how do you avoid these problems? Another developer comes in, keep it.
I think it all starts with the contract. When you're developing this partnership and this relationship with these developers, having a really good relationship with them so they have buy-in into what we're envisioning in Nassau Bay versus what they're kind of solely focused on. But that contract should have timelines, and if they're not meeting those, it really becomes an accountability conversation. I haven't seen the contract for this particular developer, but there should be things in there that they have to meet at certain time frames so we can hold them accountable.
So if we do eventually go ahead with, the city does eventually go ahead and manage to get with the developer to redevelop that waterfront area, it's about, the mayor said it's about 55, 56 acres, I think, somewhere in that neighborhood. What does that look like to you? And then also, how do we address the loss of population from Sapphire?
Yeah. So I think this is a really dynamic question. I'm going to do my best to answer and give my honest thoughts. The Sapphire apartments, they've flooded numerous times. I'm not sure that they're up to code on several things. I've heard resident complaints of their air being out for 4 days, and being sick and things like that. I think we've tried to work with that property management. It's sold off and on, sometimes without our knowledge, right? And at the end of the day, do you keep a structure in the city that could be a danger, right? If it's flooded, it's got problems, mold, maybe fire hazards and different things. It's a danger to our neighborhood. God forbid anything happened, Nassau Bay would be on the front line of the news saying, you had this old apartment complex that now, burned or something, some major person was hurt or whatever. At the end of the day, we have to think about what's best for the city. And although we would lose residents from that property, if let's say if it were to go away, you have to be thoughtful about what goes in there next. You look at, different condos with restaurants and retail on the bottom and how much revenue that could generate for the city. You look at our other waterfront neighbors, and a lot of them, and I don't have to name them, have those types of amenities, and it's just cash flow. It's a cash cow. So how do you capitalize on having nicer, businesses, condos, things like that the city could gain a lot of revenue off of, but also be pleasing to not only the residents, but have attractions come here too. People are attracted to come here and visit, right? So those are my thoughts. I think there's plenty of ideas we could throw around, but those are my initial thoughts.
Our neighbors to the west are getting a Great Wolf Lodge.
Yep.
That's going to be
Yep.
the same house, a little bit ahead of schedule.
Right.
One of our neighbors to the east, they're supposedly getting Margaritaville.
Yeah.
And here we are in the middle.
Right. And people love the quaint charm of Nassau Bay, but we don't have that attraction feature that these other places have around us, right? And I don't really want to call anything out, but when you can pull your boat up and go enjoy yourself on a patio on a waterfront property where ours are consumed with apartments, and while they bring in revenue, we could generate so much more than we are right now. On multiple fronts. And so we really need to be thoughtful about how we're making decisions.
When you look at the property tax revenue,
yeah,
one of our top property tax revenue generators is the Voyager.
Yep.
Relatively new. I mean, it's the newest of the apartments. And it generates a significant amount of property tax.
Absolutely, and that is a big component of any new buildings that go in or commercial properties, right? So, definitely things to consider here.
We kind of touched on the engagement, condition of the staff here. And we have others as well that are kind of starting to get up there in age. Some of them have kind of had reinvestment in them, others really haven't. We have a new code enforcement officer, Officer Henderson.
Yep.
He's been kind of tackling code enforcement, really getting at it now for the last 6-7 months, I think.
Sure.
So, how much focus should Officer Henderson be giving the apartment complexes versus, say, regular buildings?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you spoke to anyone, or I've had multiple conversations with residents, right? We have the little things that bother us, parked cars that are dilapidated or what have you, but really at every entrance of Nassau Bay, we have these apartments that not just aesthetically are unpleasing, but it detours people, I believe, from, once you get past them and you get in the neighborhood, you love it, right? But it's the visual cues when you first come in here. I mentioned earlier, the hazards of not being up to code, and there may be things going on in those buildings that we just aren't aware of, right? And so we need to make it a priority for him to focus on those, just from a safety standpoint. I think, the other issue with the apartments is I don't know if they're doing any type of background checks on residents and things like that, but we know that these apartments attract crime. We've seen it over and over and over again. And so in addition to code enforcement and really getting on that, we need to partner with those managers and property owners really about what they're doing to make improvements, understand what their vision is, talk about things like background checks, what type of residents are really moving in there. And so we've got to do all of those things to get them to where they need to be.
Okay. So what problems do you see over the next 2 years that need to be addressed to preserve and even improve the quality of life in Nassau Bay? And then looking out 5 years and then 10 years.
Right. So, I mean, obviously everyone talks about infrastructure, right? We have sewer lines and water lines and roadways and flood mitigation. Those all need to be a top priority, and we're carrying those out. We need to finish capitalizing on those various projects. I think for the 5 to 10 years, it's going to be infrastructure. Bulkheads around the property, the wastewater plant over here. Really looking at the safety and integrity of that. Right, that's a big component in our city, and we love it because they supply us with it. But looking at the safety features in that, and really making sure that not only it's safe for our residents, our kids, but contaminated water can affect a lot of things, and so we need to look at the safety around that and make sure that that's up to par. But overall, I think just infrastructure. I know one big thing that's been brought up to me by multiple residents as I'm walking around campaigning is the need for fiber in the neighborhood.
Fiber optic?
Yeah, for internet access, right? And so, looking at those various things on how we can really improve the quality of what we have here, from utilities to just overall infrastructure.
What are some of the strengths of our city government, and then after that we'll touch on weaknesses. What are some of the strengths of our city government, and how do we improve on those strengths?
Sure. So I would say first and foremost, the financial kind of turnaround and improvement in the city over the last few years, right? We've been talking about the budget in the meetings and different things like that. I think we've made improvements there. I do feel like they've tried to shift the culture and restructuring the committees and how those operate, and really putting terms and applications to get on those and different things. And so I feel like they're trying to improve a lot of the things that people have had heartburn about. There's still work to do, right? And so I would say, that those are what stick out in my mind. I think that, the council has done the best they can in trying to make improvements on those things.
So now, on the flip
so-and-so and I'm not getting a response. They're not hearing me. I think we need to listen more, not just to respond, but to actually hear people's concerns and try to address them holistically, right? Collaboratively. I think that, the council, has tried to mend sort of the division we've kind of felt in the city over the last few years. I still think there can be some work done in that space too. Really engaging with our residents and the committees and different pieces of that to try to bridge that disconnection in a healthy, transparent way.
Let's see here. A couple questions that have been submitted. So this one was kind of something that I had championed a little over a year ago, and we've kind of seen some improvements in that area. But this particular user asked, city committees appear to be dominated by council members.
Yep.
Should council members be able to attend but not vote, or be active on the committee and instead allow residents to make up committees? Why or why not?
So I think this is a two-part equation. There are some councils that council members have to be a member of, right? Per
the particular charter of that committee.
The bylaws, yeah. And so in those cases, they definitely have to have a voice at the table, right? I would say in our other volunteer committees, which is where I think this question was heading, not so much the committees that have to have council members, but the other ones, more of advisory committees, if you will. I know that they've made an application process for those. I do feel like there should be a fair application process, meaning it should be advertised when there's an opening. Maybe we put timelines on how long we're going to take applications, right? And to answer your question, I don't think council members should be voting on those committees. If the volunteers are taking their time and dedicating it to what they have a passion for and what they want to do, we should allow them to make decisions. And they come and present to us at council. And if there are concerns that council has, you do it in that bigger group meeting and you talk about it, right? So not really swaying someone's decisions based on just the council member's opinion.
Let's see. Just before COVID, we had a master plan was put together back in 2020. Do you support restarting another master plan committee?
I think so. I think it would be a good idea to explore it, see what comes out of it. It's not something you have to fully commit to, but I think it's a good idea to always continue to have discussions like that.
Let's see here. Short-term rentals. Now this is a really obviously there's only so much the city can do with STRs per state law. Of course the state is kind of limited in authority and responsibility of HOAs and covenant agreements. What's your stance? What's your personal stance on short-term rentals?
So I'm not a fan. I'll just put that right out there because I think there's been some questions on whether I am or I'm not. I definitely am not. I don't want Nassau Bay to turn into a vacation destination and lose what we have here. I also know that short-term rentals and transient people coming in and out, there's always going to be things that happen with that, right? For example, there's on the road behind me had a short-term rental. There was a gunshot there, right? Literally across from my backyard. Those are the types of things that I don't want to happen here. Other ones I've seen having parties in the backyard with hundreds of people. I think that it attracts sort of the wrong feel that we're wanting here. I know there's only so much the city can enforce, and I believe that they've made it the longest time frame they possibly can, right? And sitting on the HOA, we sent out a referendum late last fall. We did not get enough votes to sort of address the short-term rentals. We are putting that back out again, so you'll be receiving those. I voted that we don't have them. I'm not a fan, and I don't agree with them. Hopefully I wasn't too forward on that.
Right? No, that's one of the things is, be direct. leave no ambiguity. That's
Yeah.
kind of how I do
Yeah.
things. Elected official ethics. This is another question that came from one of our users. There have been multiple incidents where council members have been clearly supported by citizen groups that are neither registered by a PAC or a super PAC, political action committee.
Yeah.
Yet deliver anonymous flyers and attach them to residents' doors, oftentimes without the required verbiage on the bottom. So this is a two-part question. One, do you condone such actions, and if any group did such things on your behalf, would you condone or speak against these actions?
So definitely it's an ethics violation to hand out campaign material that's A, not approved, and B, doesn't have the correct verbiage on it, right? I think this type of thing has come up, and it's painted a very negative picture in places where it shouldn't have. So what I would say is I would never participate in anything like that, and I definitely would not condone people doing that for me. I actually would be very offended. And so that's my straight answer. I definitely don't condone it.
And in instances where someone was passing out these types of anonymous flyers we had in the past, would you support an ethics complaint filed against such group if individuals?
I think if the person wants to file a complaint, that's up to them. I don't see why they couldn't. That's really their choice. And so I haven't been put in that situation. But I wouldn't necessarily disagree with it. Filing a complaint is up to the individual.
Now, one thing that has come up and kind of been hearing from little groups on the side here and there. This is kind of a hard question. In your time on the HOA, there has been reports that you opened up a line of credit for personal use regarding, I guess, the pool equipment. Can you take us through?
Yeah.
I'm sure you probably at this point have heard these rumors
I
going
have.
around, and so could you help kind of address it? And
Absolutely.
Let us know what's going on.
I'm happy to do that because I have heard these rumors. Personally offended me, obviously. I spend a lot of my time volunteering at the pool. I manage those chemicals and everything through the summer, late hours at night, scrubbing for naughty cats meats. It became a passion of mine. But to answer your question, no, I did not take out any lines of credit. We have a commercial account with Glacier. There was a chlorine shortage and other equipment we needed that Leslie's had a cheaper amount for. So in trying to save money, at Leslie's we opened up a very same commercial account where they invoiced the HOA to where I'm not using my personal credit card to buy chemicals. But it was not a line of credit. They simply invoiced what you buy there and send it to the HOA. And that was all used for the city. Have receipts, water testing, everything from those days. So that's absolutely false.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. Let's see if anyone's jumped in with a question just in case. Something jumps out of this. No last second questions. That's always good. So that's the last thing. Yes, we budgeted a full hour, but if we get through everything. Is there any other topics maybe you'd like to address?
I don't think so. I think we've covered a lot of what our focus needs to be on. I don't really have anything additional that I want to go through.
Well, I guess I can kind of bring things back to through your professional career here.
Yeah.
What's your experience with helping set budgets, setting budgets?
Part of my job all the time. Obviously, my degrees are in healthcare administration. It's just like a business degree, but it's healthcare focused. Obviously, financial classes go into that. It's not just that, though. At work, I definitely have budgets I have to make every year, so strategic plans, aligning with budgets, have to present in MORs every month on my budget. So very, very, very familiar with budgeting and budget processes, and looking at P&Ls and variances and trying to dig into what they are, and et cetera. So very familiar with that.
Right, yeah, because should you win, you'll get sworn in
Yep.
in June, and pretty much get to blink and jump right on in.
Yep.
When the city starts its budgeting process.
Yes, absolutely. And I have a lot of thoughts around budget. Probably don't have all the time in the world here, but looking at the city's strategic plan, I want to understand how far they're looking forward, and if they're budgeting appropriately, right? And not just related to strategic plans, but long term. This is an old city. You're going to have to maintain the infrastructure. How are we budgeting to that outside of the strategic plan? And so I just have a lot of curiosity of what goes into that, and I would love the opportunity to serve and work with that.
Just give us your give us your elevator pitch. All right, doors open, we walk in. Sell them,
Yeah.
our viewers, on why Haley you should take position.
Well, first off, I would say I love Nassau Bay. My slogan is I'm committed to Nassau Bay. I truly mean that. It shows in my work history. I've been at the same company for 15 years. I'm a very loyal and committed person. Once I put my mind to something, I'm not going to give up on it. I really am an advocate, not only in my workspace, but here in the community, and I have been on the HOA. I truly want to be an advocate for our residents, our employees, making sure that we're being just and fair and honest and transparent, and really listening to what the residents are wanting from the city council and overall long-term for Nassau Bay, and really trying to incorporate that into all the work that we're doing. I'm a fair but strong person. I'm not afraid to speak up. I don't have any biased opinions on anything, regardless of what's happened in the city in the past, or current council, or division of committees and all that stuff. All that aside, I will focus on Nassau Bay, what the residents need, what our city needs to keep Nassau Bay the greatest place to live, to remain enjoyable and attractive to young families, so that we can continue to foster the relationships we have here, really be engaged, and I just really would like to earn your vote and the opportunity to serve this city.
Thank you very much. Elections, early voting will be held at City Hall. The city is running the entire election this year, thanks to the last-minute decision by the county to not hold the elections. So now all the municipalities, so that's like in Harris County, are left to their own devices. We will be utilizing a form of paper ballot, which I'm hoping to get some access to show how our process is going to be. Anyways, voting will be held at City Hall. Early voting starts, will go April 22nd through April 26th at 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. April 27th and April 28th will be from noon to 7 p.m. April 29th and April 30th, it will be 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then Election Day voting will be conducted from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The city will receive all Nassau Bay ballots by mail applications from the county, and will get mail if you've already requested a mail-in ballot from the county. The city will get that, and then we'll get those out to you with instructions on how to return those ballots properly. Haley?
I just want to remind people, you should have received a flyer from me, as well as posted on the Nassau Bay Politics page. But I'm having meet and greets this coming Saturday and next Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. So if you weren't able to see this and you have questions or want to meet me in person, please feel free to drop by. As well as reach out on my website or my email address that's on the flyers. I'm happy to take any questions. I'm very transparent. as a person, and so ask me what you want, and I will tell you what I think.
And where can they meet you for these meet and greets?
It's at my home. It's at 18226 Hereford Lane. We'll be in the front yard.
All right. Haley, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
All right, everyone, thank you for coming out and watching this video. I should have this also posted to YouTube by the morning. And hopefully I'll be able to get James Abbey on when his schedule allows for it. Again, thank you.